Hi, my friend. Welcome back to the show. It is such a pleasure having you back here with me and with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Vanessa. I'm so excited to be here today.
Oh, well, the pleasure is mine, and there is a good reason why you are back, and we're going to be chatting about that in a second. And I just want to start out by saying that, this is your second time here, and your first episode is where you chat a lot more about your history and, why you got into beauty and, the wellness industry and nutrition and everything in the first place. And so I highly encourage you friends that have not heard, I believe it's episode 17. If you're interested, go back and visit that episode. It's a lovely episode where Jessica gives us so many tips and tricks about holistic beauty tools and techniques and so forth. But this episode is going to be a little bit different. And I want to start out by saying congratulations. You have a new book, and I am going to let you share with us what it's all about. But it's called Healthier Beauty, The Ultimate Guide to Radiant Skin, Hair, and Wellness. And let me tell you, this book is stunning. It is gorgeous. I have not stopped about this book, right? I've been talking to you about it forever because I just cannot get enough of it. It's been in my hands for a while now. And I want you to share a little bit about it with us before we get going.
Absolutely. So, as you can see, it's back there. I'll show you there. This is my book, Healthier Beauty, The Ultimate Guide to Radiant Skin, Hair, and Wellness. And it was born from a desire to really just help women, empower them to create a wellness-focused lifestyle that'll support radiance at every age of their life. And when I was doing my research, which has been over 15 years, I found that a lot of beauty books only focus on one topic. So something like skin or hair, they have anti-aging food recipes, maybe DIY beauty recipes. And I really wanted to create a book that was just, everything that a woman would need to feel empowered in her beauty routine and to just have a healthier approach. So I put all the tools that women would need to just learn how to live a healthier lifestyle that will support their beauty because so often we're marketed, beauty products as the main way to look good, but that's very surface level. And I really wanted to teach women that it's about health first and then self-care. The foods you're eating are going to be the best tool for you to look and feel good as you age, and then to learn the science behind beauty because when you know the science and you know how to take care for your unique skin type or your hair porosity type, if you're not familiar with that term, we can get into that a little bit later. But hair porosity was a game changer for me. So I really wanted to teach women how to really focus in on their own unique beauty instead of just being sold products from influencers or brands. But instead of having, a shelf full of beauty products, just tailor it down to what works for you. And you'll find that in my book. You'll learn all the tools to really create a customized beauty routine that works with your unique beauty.
Yes, yes. And you know what? You and I obviously talk a lot off air, but I cannot tell you how much I love this book. And I'm not, I don't blow smoke because you and I have been chatting about it, kind of laughing about. I honestly think that this book is so beautifully structured. It is exactly the way that I like to read books. It reads like a stunning, encouraging guide. And I love the fact that you go through all of these different facets of wellness and how it connects to skin. It's not just one element. And I think that as a whole, like you so eloquently just shared, we are oftentimes, from a beauty standpoint, we're focused on the wrong things. And so this book it's like the best handbook that you could have. It's just absolutely stunning from front to back. It's so interesting too, because like I'm educated in skincare, right, as an esthetician, and there are things that I have learned from your book, and I have watched you go through this, and as you've been writing it over the last few years, and I just cannot even tell you, not just as a friend, but just as a reader, that this book should be in everyone's hands. It is I feel like it's just a staple and it just sheds the light, or I should say sheds light on what we should be really focused on when it comes to the health of our skin, obviously our hair, nails, and so forth. So it's just absolutely amazing. I cannot wait for you to share more about it because literally people are going to fall in love with your book.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying that. It means a lot. And you've been with me from the beginning of the journey. You're one of my what we call beta readers, someone who read the first draft of my book, and I got your feedback, and it really meant a lot. And it's been through so many revisions. I've done all of this on my own. I mean, I decided to go and self-publish because I wanted to have complete creative control and to keep my vision alive with my holistic approach to helping beauty. I didn't want it to be watered down by a publisher. And so I made it exactly how I wanted it to be to help women in the way that I know best will serve them. So, and I included the most gorgeous photography because I wanted it to also be something that you just open and it makes you smile. So, I mean, let's see what the first, I don't know,
Oh,
something like this. I don't like filler photos. I really wanted it to be something that you open it and it really just makes you smile because that's what I enjoy. And so you can leave it on your coffee table and just open it, get a burst of happiness and, learn some new stuff. And you don't have to read it from front to back, just kind of pick and choose what suits you. That's what my grandma's doing right now. She said, I'm going to go with the hair. Maybe I'll learn something new. I'm like, okay, grandma.
oh, I love that. And you're right. And for those of you who are listening to the show and the episode and not viewing it on YouTube, she's sharing a couple pictures and they really are so stunning. It's like you open it. I can't. You're right. You open it and it floods you with just vital energy because these pictures are truly stunning and they are so representative of you, not just as a person, but also as an educator and a teacher. There's just something about it energetically that just translates. And, the book is so just as your friend. So it is just stunning. I cannot wait for people to get their hands on it. So as we sort of, dive into it a little bit, I want you to set more of like a foundation for us when it comes to a lot of what you talk about. In chapter 1, actually, you really dedicate this first part to the science of beautiful skin, which I think is really important, and how skincare is, it's not superficial, it's very foundational. But oftentimes I think people have the wrong idea. So why don't you give us a little bit of a rundown on why skin is an immune organ, first of all, and why it's so important to look at it from a science perspective?
Sure. So I thought it was really important to make the first chapter about why taking care of your skin is actually a component to optimal health. So often beauty is seen as vain. And so anyone who's caring about their skin, their makeup, their hair, it's like, oh, she's only caring about her outward appearance. But, our skin is an immune organ. It's our first line of defense when it comes to protecting our health. And so I really wanted women to have, just all the information about how important taking care of their skin is. You don't have to go overboard. I actually believe a less is more approach is the best way to care for your skin as you're aging. And so I get into, what you put on your skin and how you protect your skin is just essential for optimal health. It's not just about beauty, but it's about protecting your health. So our skin has immune surveillance, and a lot of people don't believe that. They always say, oh, what you put into your mouth will directly affect your health, but what you put on your skin goes straight into your bloodstream. And I talk about why that is actually a myth. And the science behind it is not everything gets absorbed into your bloodstream, but it does tax your immune system, whether the products are healthy or not. When you're putting a bunch of products on your skin, everything has to be scanned by your Langerhans cells, which are immune surveillance. And then it needs to say, hey, is this healthy? Is it not? And so it takes the attention away from your health and away from your, I would call it your beauty source, your rejuvenation, and it directs its attention towards, hey, let's scan all these ingredients that this person has now put onto their skin and let's protect this person. Like, oh gosh, this needs to be discarded. This can be kept and utilized for the skin. So I really break it down into teaching women and everyone, not just women, but that taking care of your skin is just an essential component for your health, and protecting it is going to be the best way to look and feel good as you age.
Love that explanation. It's so interesting, right? I mean, I think just the average person, I think even me, before I was educated in skincare, I didn't really understand how skin. I mean, you hear the term, "Oh, skin's your largest organ," but do we actually really understand what that means, right? I think we lose sight of it. We look at something like the liver, which is obviously super important, or the gallbladder or the pancreas, and we look at these things as like actual organs, but for whatever reason our view of the skin is different because it sits kind of on the outside of us, or not really on the outside, but we can visually see it, right? And so we kind of like associate it differently. I should say we look at it differently when it comes to our immune health. But the fact that it's so tied to our immune health makes a lot of sense because at the end of the day, nothing is isolated, you know. And I know in modern medicine, they still like to separate everything. But in reality, it's just not the case. And I know you agree.
Yes, it's not isolated. Our system or our health is everything is holistic. It's whole body. So what you're putting in your mouth, what you're putting on your skin, what's in your environment, it's all going to affect how you look and then it's all going to affect how you feel. And for me, it's just providing people with the education, the science-based tips, because I feel that that empowers you to then take control of your own health journey, your own beauty journey. I'm really big on educating people so they have the tools to figure out what works best for them. I don't want people going to websites and relying on them to tell them what's healthy, for them to rely on those apps where you scan the products. Those are great when you first start out, but not to rely on them indefinitely. And then you have people who, say, I'll do the research for you, but so you don't have to. That is a huge pet peeve of mine because I would hate for someone to rely on this individual person who has their own interpretation of what's healthy, what's clean. And I just believe that the best way to protect your health is to educate yourself. So if you are empowered and you know exactly what these ingredients are, then you're better able to protect your health. And everyone has a different version of healthy, non-toxic, and clean. And I think once you learn about the ingredients, then you can decide what's healthy for you. Some people in the clean beauty industry like synthetic pigments. I personally don't, but that doesn't mean that either of us is right or wrong. It's just what we want to use in our beauty routine. And I think that comes from first education, and then you can pick and choose what you want to do with your life. There's certain things in my lifestyle that are considered non-toxic that I still do, but I have the education to say, I'm going to allow this because it's all about balance, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's so true. It's really like it goes back to, I think, the quote unquote buzzword that we hear so often, which is really just informed consent, informed choices. You know, education equals informed choices. The problem is, I mean, it's getting better. I say this a lot on the show. It's getting better, but people don't know half of the information out there and they don't know what they don't know. So I think that like your book is perfect because it's really handing this really foundational, factual information that people can learn and then go and make their own choices. They can still do their research, which you highly encourage in the book. And I really appreciate that. You know, you're not trying to force anyone to make certain decisions. You're giving them the tools and saying, here you go. Now you can go as an informed consumer, you know, and in a patient or, you know, whatever it is, you know, if you have health concerns and you're looking to optimize your health in X, Y, and Z kind of a way, you can now go and make your own choices. So I think that that's key and it's very crucial. When it comes to immune health and the skin, can you talk a little bit? Because in chapter 1, you really go into the skin barrier. And I think that a lot of people know what, you know, they hear that term, but can you actually break down what the skin barrier is and also how we disrupt it and what we can do to protect it?
So your skin barrier is your outermost layer of skin, and it's the first, defense system for outside elements. And what can happen is it can get weakened from things like overexfoliation, too many active ingredients, stress, hormones, the sun. And when that skin barrier is weakened from us not taking care of it or just lifestyle factors, then that can weaken your immune system. So it's just so important to focus on taking care of your skin barrier. And even something like over cleansing, using the wrong products, too harsh of products really can mess with your skin barrier. Just yesterday or the day before, Vanessa and I were talking about this off air, how, even active ingredients can be over exfoliating to your skin. And so back in the day, I used a vitamin C serum, which was absolutely wonderful for 4 months straight. And then my skin was looking beautiful, it was totally evened out. And then all of a sudden, my skin got really red, really irritated, and dry. And it was because I had weakened my skin barrier because I was using an active ingredient every day. But there's not really a lot of discussion about that. Active ingredients are really popular, especially in the clean beauty, well, pretty much in all the beauty world, especially clean beauty. And it's like, okay, use this, retinol or bakuchiol, vitamin C serum, and people use it every single day. But what happens is it acts as a natural exfoliant to your skin. And then on top of that, people are exfoliating 2 to 3 times a week, and you're constantly stripping your skin barrier. And that is then going to affect your skin health, which will then affect your immune health and overall health and aging and the resiliency of your skin. So it's better just to learn how to minimize your exfoliation. I'm someone who only exfoliates twice a month. I'm someone who's in my 40s, and my skin looks better the less I do. I have sensitive skin. So I just find, when I teach people, is especially in my book, is less is more. I have a whole section on that. Use less products, less ingredients, less active ingredients. If your skin barrier is compromised, red, no matter how much moisturizer or oil you use, your skin is still dry, then ease off of the active ingredients for about a month, I would say, and then just start using them every, 2 to 3 times a week is what I personally recommend. In holistic beauty, is 2 to 3 times a week is ideal for using active ingredients. You shouldn't be using them every day, and you definitely shouldn't be exfoliating more than twice a week. You can tailor back if you have sensitive skin. Like I said, I do it 2 times a month. And when I use an exfoliant, I'm using something so gentle. I use goat kefir. A lot of people laugh at that, but I drink goat kefir, and then I put a little bit in a bowl. I get in the bath and I just put it all over my face, my neck, and my décolleté. And then I leave it for 10 minutes, and it has natural lactic acid. It's very gentle. Maybe I'll follow it up with some Manuka honey, which also has exfoliating properties. That's like my go-to. Or I just use rice bran flour. It's extremely gentle. Mix it in my palm in the shower. It makes a paste, and then I just gently exfoliate my skin. So I'm using one ingredient, food-based products on my skin. And people will say, well, why don't you just buy skincare? Can't you afford it? Yes, I can, but this stuff works. I've been using it since I was a teenager, and I wouldn't be slathering food on my face if it truly didn't work. I can go buy an $80 skincare if I wanted to, but why would I if the stuff is so natural, is working for me, and it makes my skin look great? I'm in my 40s, and I personally think my skin looks great, and I'm using food-based products. So I think taking a gentler approach and not using products that have really active ingredients constantly and too many ingredients is going to protect your skin barrier, and it's also going to protect your immune system.
Yeah, really, really well said. A couple thoughts. I think that you're so on target, and it's not to say that there aren't great products out there, because there are. I mean, the products that I'm using, I should say the product that I use to exfoliate my skin is bought, but it's like I don't know, 2 ingredients in there or something of that nature. And I think that there's just something to be said about like thinking about what it is that you're putting on your skin, and how you don't have to necessarily spend a lot of money to get really good results. I use pearl powder, and I too exfoliate about I want to say like about every 12 days. And I don't count, but just like if I were 12 to 14 days. So I'm right there with you. But I remember years ago, and you and I have talked about this. I remember thinking, oh, I have to exfoliate my skin like 3 times a week. Well, my skin was like, no. I suffered from a lot more redness when I was doing that, not thinking that it was because of the exfoliation. So not sometimes, oftentimes, it really is less is more. And we can be doing more damage, kind of like a lot of things in health. We can often do like too much of a good thing is not a good thing, right? It's like with anything, whether it's like a food that you like, or a product that you're using, or an active or whatever. It's like they can be great, but they can also be overdone. So it's a really good example of the exfoliation. Is there anything else that you could think of before we move on that would corrupt or sort of wear down your skin, or I should say skin barrier?
I would say there, don't hate me, estheticians. I know you're an esthetician, Vanessa. A lot of people do this. So one is the dermaplaning. So you're removing the vellus hair off your face. That's really popular right now. I'm someone who naturally has peach fuzz. It's bleach blonde, so you can't see it unless you're in the sun. But I choose to leave it because I've done extensive research on how that hair is there to protect you. And, it can cause a lot of skin irritation using those. It doesn't matter how gentle of a blade it is. You're removing a good amount of your, skin barrier. I wouldn't say complete skin barrier, but your skin every time you're doing that. And I see a lot of people, estheticians, recommending to constantly do that derma planing, and then they do the derma rolling, which is puncturing the needles in your face. And I think if someone has wrinkles and more mature skin, it definitely can help. But what I see is just every woman doing it because it's really popular now. And I just think about it. Do you think your skin really likes to be poked with needles every 3 days? Do you think your skin likes to be shaved, your face every couple days? Your skin naturally can cleanse itself. It can produce its own oil that acts as a moisturizer. It doesn't want to be messed with. The less you do, the better it will be. And so many women will go and spend, all this money. They have a 12-step skincare routine. And then they ask me what I do, and I'm like, it's extremely simple, and I do this. And it's like, okay, I'm not saying that my skin's better, but why is it that I'm doing less and my skin looks healthier? It's because your skin doesn't like to be poked, prodded, waxed, and constantly, met with all these active ingredients all the time. And that really will mess with your immune system. And I just don't think that that is just really completely understood, is the more ingredients that you put on your skin, the more that it's going to affect your health, because it doesn't matter if you want to touch on this now, but I know we talked about this off air, but the more ingredients that you put on your skin, the more that it will bombard your liver, your immune system. So you could have an organic product and then you can have a toxic product. They both have to be filtered through your skin. People don't believe your skin has a filtration system. I'm here to tell you your skin does have a filtration system. It's called Langerhans cells, and it scans for foreign matter. It looks like an octopus if you can't see me on video, but I'm making like an octopus thing, and it scans for foreign matter, and it doesn't matter if the ingredient is pure cold pressed jojoba oil or if it's a paraben. It still has to be scanned. It takes your body's, attention away from processing, toxins in liver, your liver health or rejuvenation, repair, collagen, elastin, and it directs its attention towards all these ingredients that you put on your skin. So I personally like to use a skincare that has from 1 to 15 ingredients. We'll think about the average woman. She's using a cleanser with 75 ingredients. Then she uses a toner with another 15 to 20 ingredients. And then she does a moisturizer with another 30 ingredients, and just all these beauty products. At the end of the day, she's using 200 to 1,000 ingredients on her skin. And it doesn't matter if they're all clean, 100% cold pressed, USDA organic, you're still affecting your body because it is directing all of its attention towards scanning all those ingredients to keep you safe. And your body's not going to focus on beautification or optimal health when it's scanning all these ingredients constantly. So I love to tell people just to keep it simple, keep your ingredient list clean, non-toxic, but then also keep it minimal. The fewer ingredients in your beauty products, the better off your health will be. I promise you.
Yeah. So, my friends, I will tell you that this is probably one of my most favorite tips and tricks that Jessica shares, because I think that we get really wrapped up, especially those of us who are knee deep in health and wellness, that we're constantly on we're on the search for the best of the best, and things have to be clean and organic and all of that. But it was super important that we talked about touching on this, and I think it's one of the most important things that she talks about, because it's so true. We still have to filter things, as she said, no matter what they are, right? Yes, of course, the toxicity matters because it's going to take more energy, most likely, and there's a little bit more of a burden there. But the immune system still has to work. And so if you're applying whatever 150 organic ingredients, you're still challenging your system to a degree. And so I feel like this, if there's a takeaway out of this episode, it's this one, because I think it's really, really crucial and really important. So again, thank you, because I know we talked about, like, let's not forget to touch on this. This is really, really important, and it's something that I've also, I think I knew, but I really think I learned it from you, because you have stated it multiple times. And I really started to just be a little bit more, I don't know, intentional about looking at how few ingredients, or I should say, I really started to pay more attention and really started to look at products that just had a minimal list. That became really important to me. And I think a lot of that was because of your encouragement to do so. So, personally, it's made a difference in my life. And I think it's just a really, really important point. Is there
I'd
anything
like
else
to
that you want to say? Go ahead.
Yeah, so there's a challenge. It puts some challenges in the book. So in the book, there's a challenge, and I have women go and grab every single beauty product that they use throughout their entire morning, daily routine, and then grab a calculator and count how many ingredients, get a total of how many ingredients are in your beauty routine, and then, separate it. So I have an entire chapter on learning about toxins, but then you're also learning about how to minimize your ingredient exposure. And, to have this make sense for people is think about it when you go to buy food. If you're someone who's into health and wellness, you would prefer to buy, if you buy something that's packaged, something with maybe 10 ingredients opposed to 100 ingredients. You go and buy a loaf of bread these days at like a regular store and it has 70 ingredients. You're like, well, why does it need 70 ingredients when, you need some flour, water, salt, a little yeast or something? So it's the same thing with your beauty products. Just think about it that way. Your food ingredients should be minimal and your beauty ingredients should be minimal. And I tell you, just making that change, you're going to reduce your not only toxic exposure, but also I would call it your toxic load, because too many ingredients is toxic to your body. So just keeping your load, your exposure low, you're going to look a lot better, because all that extra energy is like, hey, let's go spend some time on Vanessa's hair right now. Let's go beautify her skin right now, because we're not, paying attention on like all these thousands of ingredients she just put on her skin in her beauty routine in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. And I will share genuinely that when I really changed the way that I approached my skin, and this was post my license too. I mean, I'm not practicing in the field right now. My license is still active. But, it really wasn't until, which I'm sure doesn't surprise most people, it really wasn't until I stopped working in the industry. I don't know if I'll ever go back, but, you never know, that I actually changed the way I was approaching my own skin, and my skin got healthier once I stopped working, which I think is really interesting, because I was working with a lot of different products and I was using, in the industry itself, and I'm not going to say entirely, because there are a lot of there are people out there now that are really holistically focused and are they have the same mindset as you do. But I think that working in the industry, it's really easy to just fall into the trap of using a lot of different ingredients and a lot of different products and trying different things. And, you get caught up. And it wasn't until I stopped working and I approached my skin differently that I started to see the health of my skin get better. And really, then, of course, the look of my skin get better. My skin is healthier now at almost 45 years old than it was at, say, 37, 38 years old. And that's crazy, because you wouldn't think so. Sure. Is there some extra lines there? Yeah. I'm older, so that's naturally going to happen. But in terms of the health of my skin, what you're saying actually really did happen with me personally. So it's true. It's something that I think we all need to be mindful of.
For my entire, I would say teenagers up until I was 25, people would get upset, but I used to use one of those dial bar soaps. I wash my body with it. I wash my face with it. I would cover my body from head to toe, including my face, with Jergens lotion, that sweet almond one, if you know what I'm talking about. Well, it is just so good and it works. And I had beautiful skin. However, on the flip side, if I didn't have a moisturizer on, my skin like felt so tight it would hurt. And I didn't realize that that meant that I was compromising my skin barrier by stripping it all the time. So, just using really gentle ingredients and yeah, I'm with you. My skin looks a lot better in my 40s now than it does when I was in my 20s. And your skin looks absolutely radiant, and you're doing a less is more approach. And I think that's just a true testament to living a holistic, mindful lifestyle.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And I have you to thank, I think, for being, like an encouraging friend and always throwing tips my way, because we're even when we're, quote unquote, I say this in quotes, like expert or whatever it is, right? Like, I don't even like to use that word, but when we're trained, that doesn't mean that we can't learn more and we can't change our mind and we can't unlearn some of the things that we've learned, because there are things I learned in school that I don't really agree with now. Where back in the day when I was working as an esthetician, I was like, yeah, this is the way that it is. And now that I'm kind of on the outside of it, I've also learned a lot more, I've experienced more, and I've changed my mind about certain things. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So again, right, information, informed choices, it's all kind of, wraps all up in that truth and that idea. As we sort of get into, of course, we're talking about like toxic products, less is more, and all of that. I'd like you to touch on specifically age related products. There's, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I have been asked the question, what can I use to slow down the aging process on my skin? But I like, well, I love your approach here, but I want you to touch on why so many age related products are actually aging people, and how sometimes consumers, women and men both, kind of get wrapped up in this vicious cycle when they're buying, and they're kind of seeing, either maybe they're not seeing it work the way that they want, or the products themselves might actually be encouraging the speed of aging, if that makes sense. So can you go into this for us?
So a lot of the products that we use today are, that are marketed as anti-aging, they have a long ingredient list. And the majority of your mainstream conventional beauty products do not have nourishing ingredients in there for your skin that are actually feeding it nutrition for the skin. It's a bunch of toxic, you can call them toxicants. There's toxins, there's toxicants, there's a difference. I talk about that in the book, but it's not actually going and nourishing your skin with, all these really healthy ingredients. They're actually full of toxins that I always tell people toxins will accelerate your aging more than anything. So if are using this anti-aging product that's marketed to you, but then it's also filled with toxins, that seems like a beauty industry trap to me because you're on this hamster wheel. Okay, I put on the skincare. But now what is it doing to my liver health? What is it doing to the rest of my body? Oh, does it have hormone components on there that are affecting my hormones? Okay, well now I have a hormonal issue. I have liver stagnation. That's going to, speed up your aging process. So what do? You go back to the beauty counter, you buy another product, hamster wheel, vicious cycle. Instead of using something that's more natural, that doesn't have all these toxicants in there, what's going to happen? You're using jojoba oil, you're using, vitamin A or something, vitamin C. You're then feeding your skin nutrition. It's not full of toxins. So all that nutrition for your skin, just like your body, is going to make your skin look a lot healthier. So your skin actually prefers, natural nutrient-based products than just a bunch of random stuff that's created in a lab. That's not to say that, stuff that's created in a lab is bad. I talk about that in a book. Just because it's synthetic does not mean that it's bad. Synthetic ingredients are demonized. In our modern world, we do need some synthetic ingredients, especially some preservatives to, protect your immune health. So, I just think it comes down to education and all the, anti-aging products, I truly believe, unless they're full of just really skin nourishing, healthy, natural ingredients, then you're going to speed up your aging process. Just like you wouldn't want to eat those foods, you're putting them on your skin, they could penetrate and they can maybe absorb into your bloodstream and affect your health. So anything that affects your health is going to accelerate the aging process. So just think about that next time when you go buy a conventional beauty product. Are these ingredients actually healthy for my body? Because if they're not healthy for your body, then it's going to speed up your aging process. So just think of optimal health equals optimal aging. Pretty
Awesome.
simple.
Awesome. How often would you say that you see a product with an exceptional ingredient in there, but it's also followed with, say, 25, 35, 40 other ingredients that are not so exceptional?
Across the board. I think, whatever ingredient is trending, that ingredient gets put in there and then it's sandwiched with a bunch of filler ingredients that really don't do your skin any benefit. And then they're causing your health, harm. So it's better to just find something minimal. And I'll tell you, even if it's natural, not same thing, too many ingredients. If there's a good skincare formulator, I understand the skincare science of skincare as well in formulation. If someone knows how to formulate a product really well, they don't need 100 ingredients to make a face wash or a skincare. Because think about it, if you want like a certain type of vitamin C or vitamin A, if it's in a product with 100 ingredients, it's not going to be as potent either. Opposed to something that had 10 ingredients, you're going to get a stronger vitamin C in something that has 10 ingredients, and it's also going to be better for your skin, better for your health. So a good formulator understands that they don't need to go and put every single trendy ingredient into your skincare bottle. They'll go and put an extremely high quality formulated skincare product with something to 10, maybe 20 ingredients tops. You don't need 100 ingredients in just one product. I think that they really bank on, oh, these ingredients are trending. Let's slap them in a bottle. So people say, oh, it has all these trending ingredients. It's good. No, it's really not. They're watered down and it's too much for your skin to handle.
Yeah. Yes, and amen. I also want to say that when you look at, I mean, I'm sure you see this all the time and you agree, but when you look at the front of a product and it says, with whatever, right, with vitamin C or with whatever, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the top ingredient. So turn that product over. Look to see where that ingredient is. If it is at the, midway down or up towards the bottom, they are tricking you with marketing. And I think that that's really important too, because a lot of companies, they're super smart. They know what's going to pull in people. And when they mention these ingredients on the front, people are just naturally going to assume, oh, well, that's the top ingredient. When in truth, that's not always the case. I'm sure you've got something to tack on there.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's how I was. I didn't always grow up, using healthy products. So you go into the store, you assume it's on the shelf and you go, okay, this has pretty green plants, it's healthy, it says it has vitamin C. And most people aren't going to turn over and read the ingredient label or even understand how to read the ingredient label. So you're just relying on what the brand is telling you. And their whole point is to sell you a product. They don't care about your health at all. I mean, not at all.
No, not even. No. I mean, I think there are some good brands out there.
Oh
Whether
yeah.
it's healthcare supplements, beauty. There are some really great brands out there that hold themselves high, in terms of integrity. There are, but that's not the norm. That's still not the norm. And I don't think it's ever going to be the norm. I hate to say that or sound like a pessimist, but in truth, I mean, most people are out there to make money. So it's up to you, the consumer, the person, the mom, the dad, the whoever, to just be smart. Don't just pull something off the shelf or you heard an influencer talk about it and so you're going to buy it just based on their recommendation. No, no, no. You have to be your own advocate, as I always say. I know it's cliche, but do your homework no matter how good something sounds.
Yeah, and when I say, the majority, I still think of clean beauty. I mean, it's huge now, but it's also still small compared to the larger beauty aspect. So, I think there is so many good, clean, non-toxic, low-tox products, green beauty products out there. And they are people who have a really big heart and they care about their consumer, they care about their health, and they care about their skin. It's just more of the mainstream beauty industry that is just selling a product, and that's what they have always done. It's not so much health focused, where more of the holistic skincare is about health.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Well said. I realize we were talking a lot about skincare, and I do want to ask you your thoughts and feelings on like procedures and treatments and things like that, which we'll touch on in just a few. But before we move there, I would like to ask you about specifically beauty, I should say, enhancement products, which, AKA like makeup as an example. Why do you think that makeup is also such a trap? And not from a standpoint of, don't use it, because clearly you don't feel that way. I don't feel that way either. And we can talk about like the extremes here as well. But what do you think that we should be aware of and or looking for when looking for things to enhance our skin, such as makeup?
Are looking for products that act more like skincare. So if you're using, say, a foundation, the foundation I use, the base of it is aloe vera. It has jojoba oil and it has different plant-based ingredients. So when I put it on, I feel like I am putting on a skincare and I'm not putting on a mask. And I don't think there's anything wrong with wearing makeup. There's a lot of conflict, I feel like, in the health world. It's like you can be smart or you can be beautiful. You can care about your health or you can care about your beauty, but you can have both. I'm here to tell you, you can be an intelligent woman. You can also be a beautiful woman. The two and two can go together and live merrily. So, yeah, I think that for me, putting on, I love to wear dresses every day. I like to wear makeup, and that not every day. Usually don't even have makeup on, but I'm on camera. But, wearing makeup is something that some people find as artistic, and it's something that you enjoy. And when I was a teenager, I would just find so much joy sitting in front of the mirror for hours, studying my facial features and putting on makeup. People say, "What are you doing for hours on end?" But I enjoyed it. And it's fun to just adorn yourself and be a goddess. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to look good. But I feel like in the hardcore holistic health thing, it's like you have to look crunchy in granola, or you're not 100% non-toxic, or you're not educated. I've got a lot of pushback, as a beautiful woman, not here to boost myself or anything, but someone who likes to do my hair and makeup, it's a lot of people will look down on you in the holistic health space because you wear makeup. But there's nothing wrong with wearing makeup. I just think that it's about creating a healthy lifestyle that you actually enjoy. So find healthier alternatives that actually are nourishing for your skin. They're not going to mess with your hormones. And, like I said, I work from home. So 90% of the time, I don't wear makeup. But when I go on camera, I like to wear makeup. I'm fair skinned. And so I get washed out. But, you don't have to wear makeup all the time. It's your lifestyle and no one can dictate what you do. Just, try to find healthier ingredients. What are your thoughts about wearing makeup?
My thought. Thank you for asking. I'm like, I actually. Well, you see me. If you guys are on camera, you're seeing me. I'm over here like nodding, like, like I'm bobbing for apples. But I just think this is a really interesting conversation piece because obviously both of us have been pretty well. We've been knee deep, right, in wellness and health and the industry, and in a long time. For me personally, over 20 years, and it's been really interesting to watch as an outsider. And fortunately, I don't think I have really ever fallen into the whole like extreme granola. Oh, if you care about your health and you're super, natural with all things, and you shouldn't be wearing makeup. And, that's what about just aging like naturally and showing your natural face. I get it. And if that's your forte and that's honestly how you feel from your heart, like that's really how you want to walk through life, then I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I mean, like go for it, right? But that's just, I'm like you. That's not how I feel. I don't think there's anything wrong with, enhancing yourself, with wanting to look and feel a certain way. I also think that it transfers mentally and emotionally. I think that sometimes I'm like you, right? I grew up, I loved doing my makeup as a mid to late teen into my 20s. I would sit in front of the mirror. I would take my time. I would make almost like ritual. It was like a ritual thing. And I really enjoyed it. I used to go to the makeup counters and spend my time. I'm sure it was all toxic, right? But I would spend my time. I would get to know the women at the makeup counters at the mall. I would sit with them for 45 minutes to an hour a couple times a month. I was always really, just drawn to that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Things do not have to be all or nothing. They could be this and that. You don't have to be this or that. So I'm right on with you. I absolutely agree. And I feel like there can be a balance, right? With it all. I mean, I do, like you, try to use more naturally based makeup products and so forth. I largely am at home as well. I do not usually wear much makeup. For those who follow me on Instagram, you probably know that because you see me come on and talk on stories, and I'm usually barefaced. But that doesn't mean that I don't like it. That doesn't mean that I don't enjoy it. And that's just, yeah, that's what I do, what I like. Might not be for someone else, but it's what I do. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with wanting to be healthy and, definitely like investing your time and your energy to, better your health in whatever kind of way, including beauty. And then also use things like makeup and other products that, make you feel good. Because really, like I said, it does affect you mentally and emotionally. So that was the long-winded answer to your question. If there's anything you like to tack on before we move on.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about it now, but what stuck out to me was the word enhancement. And so while we're on, doing things that are good for you, I know in the holistic beauty space and just beauty space in general, it's like two rules of thought. It's like either you're 100% holistic with your beauty routine, so you shouldn't care about it, or, I feel like the holistic beauty space is getting watered down where Botox is now being considered holistic, which I don't think it is whatsoever. It bothers me when people say it is. Or, just all these beauty enhancements. You used the word enhancement, so it just came to my mind. But, I say in our previous podcast, I kind of watered it down a bit and I say, whatever is good for women, everyone should have a choice. And I do still stick to that everyone should have a choice. However, that being said, a couple of years later, I feel that I'm holding back because I'm not speaking my truth because I don't want to offend anyone. But honestly, I'm all about helping people. And if that might offend someone, well, there's a small amount of people that I would help. And that's my goal. And I'll be happy with that. But I truly believe that if we are injecting our faces or doing these really toxic things, it's never going to be healthy whatsoever. So inevitable, it's going to speed up the aging process. It's going to catch up with you later on. But I read about this in my blog post. I read about it in my book. Injecting your skin, your body in the name of beauty is never going to be healthy. And I think about if we think about it critically, it's just think about it. Do you think your body really wants to be injected with a neurotoxin? No, it doesn't. It's not healthy for you whatsoever. And so I think, we have to take accountability. It doesn't matter if your doctor says it's healthy or not. At the end of the day, you chose to inject your face with that, and there is a risk. And I think that we have to be conscious of that, cutting open your body and putting breast implants or putting injections in your face. It is never going to be healthy. Your body is never going to say, I like having these silicone bags in my body. I love having a neurotoxin circulating into my body. It's never going to be considered healthy. So if you're willing to take that risk of what it could do to your health and you are informed and you've read the black box warning, Gretch from Never Talks is a huge advocate for that. And Vanessa's had her on the podcast and she's amazing. And it's all about informed consent. So I still stick to every woman should do what's best for her, but I also want to point out that you have to know the risks, and it's not just the surface level one that your doctor tells you, because they're not going to tell you the true risk. You need to read the black box warning and understand it fully. And then if you are okay with potentially harming your health by doing a beauty procedure, have at it. It's like, go ahead. I'm not here to judge you. And I think every woman should do what is best for her. And it's like, I have friends who do lip fillers or whatever. I'm not judging them. If you understand that could affect your health, then go ahead. And I'm here to support you. It doesn't make me think any less of you whatsoever. I just want women to be informed. And that is the biggest thing for me, is just for women to feel like they're educated on what could potentially happen later on down the road. And also, I personally don't think that Botox actually makes you look younger, because I saw something recently that says children, their faces move. Look at me. If you're on camera, you could see I have lines on my forehead when I move up. I can have facial movement. If your face is frozen, that doesn't necessarily make you look young. I thought that was an amazing point, because children have facial movements. So we're not making ourselves look younger by freezing our face. We're just making ourselves look different. And the psychology behind that is, I've read a lot of studies on when we look at someone and they have something that's just very different about their face, like it's frozen, it's not moving, it makes us have a lack of trust, because our brain can't comprehend what is going on with that person's face. So we immediately say, this person seems less trustworthy. Even something about women who have bangs, I read a study, it says that your forehead is a huge communicator. So I'm angry right now if I'm squinting or something, or you see lines of furrowing around my brows. But if I don't do that, then there's going to be a lot of miscommunication when we're speaking. So I think that it's important to just choose if that's something you want to do, as far as how it's going to affect you psychologically, how it's going to affect you with your health and just your aging. Get around women like Vanessa and myself who are about aging gracefully and really just accepting your face. Am I 100% happy with how I look? I don't think any woman honestly could say that they don't have something on their face or their body or their hair. I mean, I'm prone to frizz. I mean, that you wouldn't want to change. But, I think as you get older, you just kind of become more accepting, unless you're on Instagram 24/7 and all you see is filtered faces, and then maybe it will skew your perception. But get around real honest women who accept the aging process, and I promise you, who you surround yourself will really affect how you feel about your aging process.
Well, that's it. We can end the show right now, because what else is there to say? No, I'm just kidding. That was phenomenal. You already know where I stand here, right? But oh, there's so many things that you said that I just want to reiterate and highlight. But you said it. You said it so perfectly. And I will just, I guess, add that Yeah, I love that you said that critical thinking is essential along with making informed decisions, which is really like all that's why you're doing what you're doing, right? That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I'm sitting in a podcast chair and you're over there educating people about holistic wellness and beauty and all the things because it's about the information. And if people have the information and they still choose, I mean that's the beauty of life, right? We have choices and we can make choices, but I think that we have been sold to a degree a false bill of goods in a way because we've just been so deeply programmed to look at aging differently than what it is. And I think that there's now problems with it, right? There's problems with, and again, there's nothing wrong with like softening lines and using good products. And if you want to do face taping and all of those things, but when we take those more invasive steps and they come with a lot of risk, that's something that we have to really take, we got to just take inventory. What am I really doing this for? Why am I choosing to make these choices? And again, no judgment. I love that you kept saying that, no judgment. But I think it's unfortunate. You also made this point that when someone goes to the average injector or the average doctor, they're not giving the clients or the patients the whole truth. And you're right. Gretch from Never talks about this all the time. She was in it, and there's a lot of pushback. This is a very, very sensitive topic for people. It's highly personal. I have personally, some people that are listening might even have seen it. I was ridiculed and attacked on social media for lying about my face. And the truth is that I've never done injections or anything of that nature. And I came on, was talking about, actually, I reissued the Botox post a couple of months ago, I think back in December, like 6 months ago now. I re-released it, and upon re-releasing that show came a lot of scrutiny on social media. And people got angry. Upset, thought I was, lying about my face. And I'm just like, why would I lie? But so that right there shows the sensitivity level of this topic. And that I think that we just need to be obviously considerate and sensitive to people and, just all of the things that goes on. But also when we take a step back and we really ask ourselves, what is my goal? Am I just interested in looking a certain way, or am I really interested in a long, healthy life where I feel good, and I want to lower my risks and I want to take care of myself and I want to feel strong and I want to feel healthy. I mean, I know that's my goal. I know that's your goal. And so I just think that it brings conversation to the table, right? It's not about judgment, but when we really sit and we think about the decisions that we might be tempted to make, or maybe we're making, and in some cases, the ones we used to make, and now we're in a different place, I think that it is just an opportunity to look at things a little bit differently. And it could potentially, down the line, affect our lives in a good way. So, without going on, because this in and of itself could be an entire podcast episode, and it was. So my friends, episode 16, but then I reissued it, so it came out again last December. I want to say, somewhere around episode 67, 8, 9, somewhere around there is the Botox episode. So my goodness, let's see. I want to spend just a little bit of time talking about, I think, my favorite chapter in the book, which is chapter 5. It's really about nutrition. And I love, obviously, like this is no surprise, but you talk so much about food and how it can affect your health, but you don't just give basics. You literally give so much information. You talk about how to read food labels. You talk about the importance of your organs and liver health and what can feed the liver and what can help, with detoxing. You talk about the gut skin connection. You talk about blood sugar balance and how all of these things can affect the skin. You have a vitamin and mineral guide, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. And so you just break things down so beautifully. So can you talk a little bit about, in any way you want to go, about your nutrition, the nutrition aspect of your book, and sort of just highlight some important points that you think that people might like to hear before they get their hands on the book?
So I wrote the book pretty much for how I felt would be most beneficial to people and also what would I want to see in a book? How can I help people to make, health more easy to digest and not seem so overwhelming, especially when you're new to it. So as far as the vitamin and mineral section of my book, I really wanted it to be something that you could even bring to the grocery store with you and say, okay, so I know now that vitamin A or vitamin C is really good for my health. And now I can just open that section of the book and it can say, okay, this is what vitamin C and A does for my health, but also my skin, hair, and nails. And then I list out the top foods there. So you can associate those vitamins and minerals with those foods. It's a really easy, quick guide. So you can just associate it more easily. And as far as the nutrition aspect, I really wanted people to understand that food is the best way to look and feel your best as you age. And so, skincare is a nice component to healthy aging, but food is the optimal, icing on the cake that's going to give you longevity. So the entire thing, I put my top beauty foods, but I also talk about, how to just eat for health, but also eat for beauty. Eat yourself gorgeous, eat yourself radiant. Here are all the top foods. And I even, go into stuff like cleaning up your kitchen as far as the non-toxic cookware guide. I go into how to implement like healthier cookware, healthier options with your coffee, healthier options with your tea, and just how to do things really from a holistic health point. Something as simple as brewing a cup of tea can be incredibly soothing to your soul, but also anti-aging if you use a certain kind of tea. But what I've found across the board with my clients is that everyone just uses boiling hot water. Well, what you're doing is you're destroying all those nutrient properties that could have gone to feed your skin and your hair. So in parentheses, I put the water temperature of every single top beauty tea. So you know exactly how to brew it for the most impact. So you get all those nutrients and preserve them without ruining it. I also go into how to make a healthy cup of coffee, that is better for your digestion, better for your hormone health, better for just reducing your toxic load. I basically created the book because when I was researching health and wellness starting 15 years ago, there wasn't enough information in the health and wellness space where I felt that it was all in one book. I spent years reading published studies, reading magazines, reading books, watching videos, going to lectures, meeting with different people in the holistic health and wellness space, like super hardcore holistic people back in the day who were really popular, who were leading the way. I was in circles with them and I would just feed off the information from them. But I couldn't find any of that in a book. And I also didn't find it in a book that had anything to do with beauty. And I wanted it to be this like guidebook that really helped women and empower them to have everything you need in your hands to take your health and your beauty into your own hands. And so you'll even find, stuff on self-care in there. There's an entire chapter dedicated to self-care because, it's all about the mind, body, and, the spirit. And so, yeah, as far as nutrition, as a nutritionist, this is what I want people to know and make it really easy. I could have wrote an entire nutrition book. I mean, it's not like overkill or anything, but just things that I think aren't really readily discussed all the time. And so just, yeah, it's just an easy guide to help women with nutrition. In chapter 5, I had a lot of fun writing that one and I revised it year after year because, it's like, I could go on. This is a 304-page book. I could have made it 5,000 pages. It's not realistic. It would cost me too much to print it, but I mean, had to scale it back and revise, remove. But, everything like the top stuff. And also, one thing is I have a section on how to shop healthy on a budget. As someone who grew up poor, health and wellness can seem expensive, and sometimes it is. People say, oh, it's not. It is expensive. If you're following people on social media and everyone has the top of the line supplements, the top of the line food, the matcha powder and everything, it's not accessible to people. I'll tell you right now, people who grew up in the ghetto, it is not accessible to be shopping at Whole Foods. I'm sorry, it's just not. So I just put a quick blurb, like a whole page about how to shop healthy on a budget and just think about it from a practical standpoint on how to save dollars and actually how to incorporate healthier food into your lifestyle because wellness should be accessible to everyone. It should not be this super privileged thing because everyone deserves to feel healthy and everyone deserves to feel beautiful. And it starts with nutrition. Nutrition, if you're going to take anything away from my book, go straight to chapter 5 and read the nutrition because for me, what you put on the end of your fork is what's going to help you to look and feel good. Your skincare is just superficial. It works with a couple layers of your skin, but I always say this. If you were to ask me if I had to choose between, you could have skincare, Jessica Rose, for the rest of your life, or you could have good nutrition. All right, let's throw away the skincare. And I would just focus on nutrition because I know that that is the foundation for how you're going to look and how you're going to feel. You don't need skincare. Skincare is a nice supplement, but you don't have to have skincare. You can rely 100% almost on nutrition because you can even take some of that food and put it on your face, which is what I do and what I teach you. I have an entire DIY beauty chapter that has very simple recipes. And that's another thing is a lot of the books out there, they have these beauty recipes that are DIY, but they're made with stuff that's sourced from all over the world that most people don't have access to, or it's $80 to create one of the ingredient or one of the recipes in the beauty book. And they're beautiful recipes, but it's not for the average person who isn't sold yet on that natural beauty can be good. So why would you go and spend $80 and have to source those ingredients from all over the world to make one recipe? So I want it to be super simple stuff that most people already have in their refrigerator or in their kitchen, or that they can buy at their local grocery store. So there's nothing in the DIY beauty section that you won't be able to get at your local grocery store, get it effectively, and it's not something that's going to go bad. And you just use it up one-time use, and it's really easy. It's 3 ingredients. I could have gone and made something more high-tech that were highly formulated that had, step-by-steps, and you had to use science beakers. Why do that to the average person? Just keep it simple. Here's 3 ingredients from your kitchen, mix it up. I mean, my favorite mask that I do is, well, I have a bunch, but pumpkin puree out of a can and some honey, the goat kefir on my face, rice bran flour. These are all really simple things. And I really tailor it to your skin, your hair. Take this, and then I put customizable stuff that you can use based on your unique beauty, because I'm not going to give you a recipe that's only for this one thing, because we all have different skin and hair types and it's constantly changing. So it's pay attention to what your skin and hair needs, and then tailor my DIY beauty recipes to fit, your unique beauty. That's a big thing. Unique beauty.
Yeah, yeah. Well said. I think there's so many things that I love about your book, but the thing that stands out the most, especially after you just spoke, is really practicality. It really does speak to everyone, every person, man or woman, even not just. I know we talk a lot about we chatted a lot about women or because largely I think that's probably who you speak to, but it's not just for women. This info is also applicable to men too. But it translates across the board to really everybody. And there are takeaways, so many takeaways, not 1 or 2, tons of takeaways for everyone, no matter what season they're in of life, no matter what kind of budget they have. You really do such a beautiful job of just like tackling every single aspect and keeping everyone in mind. And I really appreciate that too, because let's be honest, like some of these tips and tricks that we see even on social media, forget the books for a second, they're just not like sustainable financially or practical for a lot of people. And then that creates overwhelm and disappointment in people, and then they just throw up their hands and say forget it. I don't even want to care anymore, because it's just I can't do it. And I think with your book, it's just so practical and it speaks to everyone. And so I really, really, really appreciate that. And then I wanted to share that your recipes, like when I've gone through that portion of the book, obviously I saw some of them before, but now with the finished product, yes, my friends, if you could see me on camera, I have it right here. I really do have the book, and I have read a large portion of it already again because it's just finished and beautiful. But these recipes are out of control. First of all, they're easy. Second of all, it's like I can taste what was it that we were talking about the other day? The cod tacos. I was like, come on. I mean, she has such amazing recipes in here. And so, there's just stuff that is, gosh, it feels doable. I guess that's the word, right? The things that you have in here, the suggestions across the board, not just in recipes, even talk about supplements, right? You have a list of like supplements that are excellent for the skin and, like things to maybe consider if you're looking to supplement. I mean, there's just so much in here that it's hard not to get filled up from an informational perspective when you're going through the book. So Oh, I just love chapter 5 so much. Like like you said, if you don't do anything, just go straight to chapter 5 because for sure that's my favorite chapter. It's all good, but that's my favorite chapter too. As we sort of wind down, I would like you, and I realize this has been woven in through this entire conversation. This has been woven in, but I would like you to give your thoughts about the stress connection with not only skin health and beauty, but wellness in general. It's become an obsession largely in the modern world. And I think we've all been touched by it, all of us, myself included, and how it can be really, I should say, it can push us actually in the wrong direction. We can think that we are attaining health, but what we're doing is, when we get super radical about things, and we start to obsess, whether it's beauty or, more of a general health thing, we end up doing more harm than good. We end up aging ourselves more because our cells are feeling that stress. And so, can you go into a little bit about this, what your thoughts are, and what you want people to keep in mind?
I really feel that stress itself is toxic. And the more that we hyper focus on trying to be perfect, which none of us will ever achieve in our entire life, as much as we want to try to, achieve that, the more that it stresses out our body, and it's having the opposite effect. It is harming our health, it's harming our appearance. And the wellness space, there's so much, especially the non-toxic world. It's all about scare tactics, fear mongering, your trash bags are toxic. I mean, you can go and find every single thing in your house that's toxic. No, I'm serious.
I know.
People say your trash bags are toxic. I'm like, okay, I've been doing this for a long time, over 15 years, but even I don't buy non-toxic trash bags. I mean, that's like a little much. And I believe it's important to make people aware of these things, but not to scare people or make them feel like if you're not doing this, then you're not being healthy. I know a lot of people who in the nutrition space, they're still using nonstick cookware. I can suggest it to them, but if they're not really ready to invest in that or think it's important, they're not going to die from using it. It's just about taking a practical approach and doing the best that you can with the resources you have. If you don't have a lot of money, then just start with simple things, start with a water filter, shower filter. Everyone's really big on these air filters. I think air filters are great, but open your windows. I have my windows open 24/7, and I supplement with the air filter when I'm cooking, but for the most part, just open your window. I just think the non-toxic holistic space sometimes is getting a little much for your average person. And it feels like, I don't know, I just see people online, and it's a pet peeve of mine when I see people walking around the grocery store and then holding up their nose and saying, this is going to kill you, this is toxic, but it's not helping people to scare them in that way, or making something seem so elite, oh, if you don't do this, then you're not healthy. I just don't think that's a good way to educate people. So it's like, yeah, live your lifestyle, say it humbly, live a humble life, and share your suggestions with people, but don't force it down the throat. Don't scare them, because trust me, I work with clients. When you scare people, that does not make them act.
No.
They don't take action. They actually go back 5 steps and sit in a corner and like huddle and be all freaked out and everything about what you said. They're not in a place. Their brain is switched into fight or flight. So it's like, just present them with the information gently and leave it there for them to come back to you and ask you if, and to learn more. But it's not good to, scare people, because stress is really toxic. There's no such thing as perfection. And the more that you try to achieve perfection, whether it be with your appearance, your health, non-toxicity, you're just going to make yourself more unhealthy, which defeats the purpose. And so just have balance. I mean, I'm someone who's a huge foodie. I love to go out and eat at restaurants, and people always are shocked. Oh my gosh, you're eating this. Yes. Yes, I am, because it's good for my soul. Like, I'm not someone who's going to go to a restaurant and like freak out about the oils and demand that they cook my food with a specific oil that I brought in my backpack. It's a real thing. My grandma sent me an article that people are being like pushed to bring their own oils to restaurants. Please don't do that. That is just so insulting to the chef and the restaurant owner. Like, it's like, eat healthy 80% of the time when you're at home. And then when you go out to a restaurant, then just enjoy yourself. Unless you have an autoimmune condition and you really have to be strict, then find restaurants that will cater to that. But please, influencers, don't just pull, beef tallow out of your bag and demand that every restaurant cook your food with this, because it is ridiculous. And just enjoy your life. You're not going to die from eating a little bit of canola oil. You're not going to die from a little bit of a toxic beauty product, but 80%, 80/20, live a healthy lifestyle and don't stress about the rest because I tell you, I eat chocolate chip cookies almost every single night of my life because they make me happy. And I don't think it's unhealthy. Like you just enjoy. I watch my shows at night and I eat my chocolate chip cookies or my popcorn. And I'm not going to make myself feel bad because I'm eating cookies because it's not healthy to eat cookies every day. I'm healthy. I enjoy my, balanced lifestyle and it feeds my soul and makes me happy. So do what's best for yourself, live a sustainable, healthy lifestyle, and please don't stress because it's just going to do the opposite and not be healthy for you whatsoever.
Yeah, I'd say wise words. And everybody has their version of that. Everybody, chocolate chip cookies might not be your thing, but something else may be your thing. And I think it's just important. And again, and I want to say this too, and I do talk about this on social media. That's not what Jessica is saying. She's not saying it to justify your bad behavior or your consistent bad choices. I think that there's a fine line. And I think that we know deep down inside if we're making consecutively bad choices over and over and then like telling ourselves, oh, it's balance. You know what true balance is, my friends. You know what she's talking about. You know how to decipher, right? You know when she's talking about 80/20, she's talking about being super mindful in for most of the things in life, right? You might not have all of the resources to change everything, and that is completely okay. But the other 20%, you do your thing, you enjoy your life, because that stress, it does take a toll, and we've all been there, right? And to some degree, I think in a large well, this is another podcast episode too, but I think that that's really the root of most people's issues, most people's chronic conditions. There's always a stress component. And when we become super obsessive with healing and super, super obsessive with every single thing that we're doing or not doing, we're actually just creating a storm, within ourselves, and we're backsliding with the healing versus, and we're actually doing the opposite of what we're trying to achieve. So again, I don't think there's much more to say because you said it perfectly. I should say where and what and how and all of the things. Let's tell people a little bit about where they can find your book, also where they can find you, what you're up to these days, what you're, doing in terms of, are you seeing clients? Where can people find you on social media? Give them all the juice because, people need to hear, and certainly people need to hear about where they can find your book.
So you can find my book, Healthier Beauty, The Ultimate Guide to Radiant Skin, Hair, and Wellness. You can find that on Amazon. You can find it on Apple Books. You can also find it on Kobo and pretty much any general place that you would find your books, whichever your preferred reading source. You can read the ebook or you can read the print book. The print book is absolutely gorgeous and it just has the most gorgeous photography. So you can find that there. You can also go to my website. I have a huge database of resources on my blog. That's jessicarosewellness.com. You can also find my book there on my books page. And Jessica Rose Wellness across all social media platforms. You can see my videos on YouTube. This video will be saved to a playlist on my YouTube. And so you'll be watching Vanessa's video there if you're into videos. And you can find me across the board there. And right now I'm really focused on my book. I'm not taking nutrition clients right now. I have, hit my max. And so I just do a referral basis. But as far as my offerings, you can find my book. And then you can also find me on social media or reach out to me on my website. I am always happy to answer questions and connect with you.
Awesome. Awesome. You guys, I know that I've talked a lot about her book from a personal perspective, but I will tell you that I just feel like it is one of the most, not just helpful and practical, it's also one of the most beautiful books that I've ever, I've really ever had in my possession. And I think also just being in the skincare industry, I certainly wish that I had something like this back in the day when I was working with clients. I would have been able to speak to so many more things because it's just so multifaceted in terms of what she tackles. And I know you've heard a decent amount of it today, but honestly, we only scratched the surface. So I highly encourage you to take a look, whether you pick up the book, in cover, like hardcover, and actually, or you do it online. It's just super valuable. It also would make a gorgeous gift, right? Like I feel like that's probably what I'll use it for in the future. It's just not mine. I'm not giving mine away. But just maybe gifting it to others too, because it's just a super valuable resource. So again, all of this information, Jessica's handle, her information about the book, her website, and so forth will be in the show notes as always. And if you have trouble finding anything, don't hesitate to reach out either to me or Jessica. We'd be happy to help you. It has been such a pleasure, my friend. I have just enjoyed watching you every step of the way. It has been an honor, and I am proud of you and your accomplishment. It has been no small feat. This has been a huge, huge deal. And from my heart, I will honestly tell you that I could not be more proud of you as your friend. This is just, it's an amazing, amazing accomplishment. And I know that your efforts will help a lot of people. So, thank you for coming on, for sharing with us. You're just a joy, and I adore you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I am just so happy we're friends. And I hope that this podcast episodes find those that really need it, and it inspires you to live a healthy and more beautiful life.
Oh, well, with that, thank you so much again. And my friends, until the next episode, have a very, very blessed day, and I will see you all soon.